Alright mate, how you doing? Welcome back to another episode of IMO. In today's video, I am going to be rounding up the January transfer window and I'm going to be ranking all 20 Premier League teams based on how good a window they had. If they're in 20th, they had the worst window. If they're in first, they had the best. Simples, let's go. Okay, starting off in 20th place. It pains me to do this, it really does, but I'm having to put my club, West Ham. They had the worst window in my opinion. Yes, we bought in Riyad Mahrez on loan. Decent addition, right? But we sold Sacco. We sold Ayew, two of the best goal scorers our club's got. We sent Reece Oxford and Reece Burke both back out on loan. Our squad is paper thin. We've got injuries all over the shop. And to top it all off, one of the staff at the club said that we don't want to sign any more Africans because they cause mayhem. What are you doing, West Ham? Sort it out. Not good enough. We're in a relegation battle, for God's sakes. Next up in 19th position, I'm going with Southampton. Also facing a relegation battle. They lost their best centre-back, Van Dijk, who hadn't played a lot for them this season, but he was their best player. They got a lot of money for him, yes, but if they're in the Championship, they're going to be losing a lot of money from not being in the Premier League. They brought in one player, Carrillo. They could be in trouble. Now, in 18th place is Crystal Palace. Don't get me wrong, they've been a lot better since Roy Hodgson got involved. However, January gave them an opportunity to fill their fans with a little bit of hope they were going to stay clear of the relegation zone by bringing in some much needed additions. Now, Hodgson did bring in some players, and don't get me wrong, they could come good, but the fact is, no one's heard of them. Yaroslav Yak, Erdel Rakip and Alexander Sorloth, they sound like baddies from the Harry Potter franchise. In 17th, I'm going with Stoke City. They're in a bad position. They're sacked Mark Hughes. They brought in Paul Lambert, which wasn't the most inspiring of choices. They have done some business, but whether Ndiaye, Niakate, Bauer and Staphylidis are going to be enough to keep them up, I'm not so sure. They could and should have done better. In 16th, I'm going with Bournemouth. Now, manager Eddie Howe said the return of players like Junior Stanislas from injury is like having a new signing anyway, and that was shown in the recent 3-0 win over Chelsea. However, they're only a few bad results away from dropping back into the danger zone. I think they should have brought more people in. They didn't do any business, guys. It's not good enough. In 15th, I'm going with Leicester City. Now, they're doing pretty well in the league under Claude Puel, but they haven't got a lot of options now. The squad's pretty thin after officially offloading Ahmed Musa and sending Slimani on loan to Newcastle. They did finally bring in and confirm the transfer of Adrien Silva, who missed the deadline in the summer transfer window. They also brought in Wright and Diabite. How much of an impact they'll have, I'm not so sure. The big thing was Riyad Mahrez. Some people would say they did really well in keeping him and not sending him to Man City. However, he is not going to be on great form for the rest of the season. I find it highly doubtful. He said he's depressed now that he didn't get to do the move he wanted, the dream move of playing under Pep Guardiola. I think they actually made a mistake not cashing in on Mahrez because they could end up getting less money for him in the summer. Next up, I'm going with Huddersfield. Not a lot to report on this one. I don't think they had a great window. I don't think they had a terrible window. They brought in Pritchard. They brought in Congolo. Both decent players. Neither really with lots of Premier League experience. They could still be in danger. We'll have to wait and see. Brighton are another club in that group of teams, which is a big group of teams that could still get relegated. They brought in Locadia and Uchoa, strengthening their attacking options. I don't think they had a terrible window. In 12th, I'm going with Watford. They brought in Ndong from Sunderland. I don't think he was necessarily great for Sunderland, but they've decided to go for him. They brought in Luke Bacchio, but most importantly, they brought in Deulofeu, who, when he was at Everton before, showed signs of greatness, obviously from Barcelona on loan. He could do bits. He could add an extra attacking element for Watford. They also did pretty well to hold on to Richarlison, who I know a lot of clubs were looking at. In 11th, I'm going with Newcastle. I know a lot of Newcastle fans wanted to see Mike Ashley spend a little bit more money, but the truth is, I think he got some players that could help them. Slimani on loan is a goal scorer. If he gets given a good run of games, I think he'll score goals. Kennedy also on loan from Chelsea. He's already had an impact at Newcastle, and I think he'll do well given the game time. Of course, Rafa Benitez would have probably liked to bring in some bigger names and some more players to bolster the squad. They could still be in trouble, but I think they've had a better window than most of the teams beneath them. In 10th, I'm going with Burnley. They didn't do a lot. They brought in Aaron Lennon and Nkudu, a couple of reasonably pacey wingers. Lennon not as fast as he used to be. However, Burnley didn't have to do a lot. They're in great shape. They held on to all their players that are doing well for them this season. Decent window. In 9th, I'm going with Liverpool. Yes, they lost Coutinho. It's a huge loss to them. He's a quality, world-class player. However, they got loads of money for him. And to be honest, Coutinho played in a position where they've got loads of options. They've got some of the best attacking options in the Prem. What they needed to do is improve their defence. They did that by bringing in Van Dijk. Was it enough? I'm not sure. I still think it needs a bit more work, the Liverpool defence, but it's getting there. Signs of improvement for the squad. They just need to put it into practice on the pitch. In 8th, I'm going with WBA, West Bromwich Albion, one of the relegation favourites. However, they brought in Daniel Sturridge on loan. If he's given a run and he finds his old form, he could bang goals that could keep them in the league. And they kept hold of Johnny Evans. A lot of clubs, including Arsenal, wanted him, but they held him, and that could be the difference for them staying in the league. In 7th, 7th, I'm going with Arsenal. This is going to be one that divides opinion, I think. Some people will say they had a great window. Some people probably say they had a poor window. The truth is, considering the options they had open to them, they probably had a reasonably good window. Yes, they lost Sanchez, arguably their best player, but it looked like the writing was on the wall for a long time. He was always going to go. The fact is they replaced him with someone reasonably decent in Mkhitaryan. You could argue whether the straight swap and no money exchange was a fair deal or not, but considering the options they had, I think they did okay. And they lost Giroud as well, who wasn't starting. They bought in Aubameyang, one of the most in-demand strikers in Europe. A huge transfer and a huge coup for Arsenal. Record transfer, in fact. However, they lost Walcott as well, who wasn't their best player, wasn't getting a lot of game time, but their attacking options are much more limited. They also sold Coquelin, and they still didn't improve the defence or centre mid area, which I think desperately needs improving for Arsenal. So they didn't have an amazing window, but considering they also got a new contract signed by Ozil, it wasn't a bad one either. I'm looking forward to seeing Aubameyang do bits for Arsenal. In 6th, I'm going with Chelsea. Now, Batshuayi was loaned out to Dortmund, but Conte clearly didn't like him. He wasn't getting a lot of game time. Diego Costa's transfer to Atletico Madrid was official, but he hadn't played this season. He was basically not there. They bought in Ross Barkley. They bought in Palmieri from Roma. And they bought in Giroud. And one of the reasons Arsenal didn't have a great window is they actually gave a couple of their best players, or certainly their best player and one of their better goal scorers in Giroud, to rival clubs, to Chelsea and to Manchester United with Sanchez. So Arsenal, you could argue, have strengthened teams around them, whereas Chelsea have taken someone from a competitor. That makes it a semi-decent window. Whether Palmieri, Giroud or Barkley are starting players in their 11, I'm not so sure. If these signings had actually strengthened Chelsea's starting 11, I would have said they had a better window than they did. And 5th, I'm going to go with Spurs, Tottenham Hotspur. They weren't very active in the transfer window. The only addition they made was Lucas Moura from PSG, which is a solid addition, by the way, adding a bit more pace to their maybe right-wing option. He was linked with Manchester United at one point before they got Sanchez. I think it's a decent addition. Could see him starting for Tottenham in their first team potentially, but they didn't lose anyone either. Always linked with the likes of Harry Kane, Eriksen, Dele Alli potentially leaving. They kept him, Danny Rose as well. And the Spurs squad didn't need that much improvement, to be fair, so a decent window for them, I think. In 4th, perhaps surprisingly, I'm going with Swansea. One of the worst teams in terms of performances in the league this season. They needed transfers desperately. And I think they did a good job. Bringing back Andre Ayew from West Ham for 18 million, that's a couple million less than what West Ham had to pay for him, is a decent bit of business, particularly if he can recapture the form he had at Swansea last time. He clearly liked his time in Wales, scored goals for fun. And I think bringing in Andy King on loan from Leicester gives them a bit of solid reinforcement in the midfield. He's not an unbelievable player, but he'll do a job. They sent Roque Mesa out on loan to Sevilla. He obviously hasn't worked out there, but their squad is in a better place to stay up now, in my opinion. They spent some money, most importantly, which is more than a lot of the relegation candidates have done. In 3rd place, I'm going with Manchester City. They love a transfer. Obviously, sitting top of the league, all they need to do is make sure they stay there, and they've brought in someone that's going to help them do that. Centre-back, who's one of the most in-demand young centre-backs in the world, Aymeric Laporte. Vincent Kompany has been an injury-prone player for way too long. They needed another option, and bringing in Laporte is going to bolster that defence. They sent Mangala out on loan. They also brought in Jack Harrison from New York City FC. I don't think he's going to play. In fact, he's been loaned out already. But if he's anywhere near as good as Jack Harrison, who plays for #United, they'll be loving it. And in 2nd place, I'm going with another team who I said did very well transfer-wise in the summer, Everton. Now, the fact is, those transfers, and they made a lot of transfers in the summer, didn't really work out with them. Their form stumbled. The team chemistry wasn't quite right. They lacked pace. They got rid of the manager, Ronald Koeman. They brought in Big Sam Allardyce. This is his first window as Everton boss, and I think he's done well. He got rid of some people that weren't working out. Sandro Ramirez has headed out on loan, as has Besic. Morales has gone. Barkley has gone. He didn't really play at all for Everton this season, and he clearly wanted out. They could have got more money for him if he'd left in the summer. That's my only criticism there, but that ended up not being an option for them. In terms of who they've brought in, I think they've done really well bringing in Theo Walcott. They needed pace. He's not the best player in the league, but he'll get them goals. He's already got a couple for them, and I think he'll start most games for Everton and do bits. They also brought in Tosun up top, who I think can become the talisman of their strike force. They lacked a pivotal figure up there. That Calvert-Lewin had to deputise a lot. He's probably not ready yet, so Tosun can come in. And Mangala on loan from City will help the defence. At times, the defence has been shaky this season, but they're improving it. I have no doubt that Everton will be safe from relegation now. That's been clear for a while. And Big Sam is going to take this squad places, I think. He's got the money to spend, and he spend it well. But top of the pops in terms of transfer windows for January has to go to Manchester United. They didn't do loads of business, but they got one of the most in-demand players, Alexis Sanchez, from one of their rivals, Arsenal, and stopping their biggest rivals, Man City, getting him in the process. Sanchez comes straight into their starting 11. That's one of the things I think is key in measuring the success of transfers. Does this player improve your starting 11? He does massively. They also lost Mkhitaryan, who wasn't playing for them, had clearly fallen out with Jose Mourinho, was basically not a player he was counting in his squad. And he was able to just swap him for Sanchez, who I know is going to be on a big wage, but let's face it, a straight swap for that deal is amazing. There are rumours they're going to be losing Zlatan Ibrahimovic soon, as he may be going to the MLS to join LA Galaxy, but he doesn't look like the same Zlatan we knew before his injury. And I think with Sanchez and the likes of Martial and Rashford and Lukaku, even Jesse Lingard, their attacking options are amazing right now. Probably not going to be enough to get him to win the league this year, but I expect them to finish second now. Anyway, guys, that is it for my January transfer window recap. What do you think of the rankings I gave the clubs? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments below who had the best window, who had the worst window in your opinion. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more. I'll see you again soon. Until then, don't go changing. Bye-bye.